Hi everyone! I honestly don't know how to intro these brushes. Don't you think they just look so majestic? So today I will be sharing my review on these three brushes from GoldenMaple, and I'll also explain later why the Game of Thrones reference from the thumbnail. Before we begin, allow me to give you a brief overview of what will be covered. Brand information, packaging, craftsmanship. I'll also explain why I had to reference Game of Thrones. Then take the brushes through my various brush tests before ending with a painting demo while talking through my experience with these brushes. Let's get started. So a couple months ago, a representative from GoldenMaple reached out to me to ask if I wanted to try any of their products. I noticed the brushes that they offer are similar to Fumui brushes. The representative was very transparent with me and did disclose that both GoldenMaple and Fumui brushes are manufactured from the same factory. Since I'm continually loving my Fumui brushes and the more I use them, the more I love them, so I was rather keen on trying some of the GoldenMaple brushes. Which brings me to my disclaimer. The GoldenMaple brushes you see in this video were sent to me for free. I did not pay for them. But this is also not a gifted collaboration. They merely sent the products for me to try without asking for any content to be made in return. Personally, I'm doing this video because I love quills, and I don't believe there are other reviews for these yet. And it's also a good chance to show another example of white labeling. For the packaging, it's pretty much the same as we've seen from Fumui brushes that I've shown before. Sturdy box, plastic tubing to protect bristles, definitely nice enough to gift to others as well. The travel brush set also has an extra plastic sleeve. As for the craftsmanship, upon initial inspection and several weeks of testing these, I find the quality is excellent. For quills, the one particular thing I pay most attention to is how the wire binding is finished. I've experienced some brushes where the wires stick out and snag on paper or rags. Thankfully, the wire binding on these are nice and flush against the ferrule overall. Prior to getting acquainted with these brushes, I had been binge-watching Game of Thrones, and I just can't help but see some resemblance, so I took the opportunity to name these according to the characters that they reminded me of. For the sake of this video, I will be referring to these by the colors of their handles. This black one, can you guess? It's Jon Snow, since, he's always wearing his black furry cloak. This white one, as Khaleesi, since she's mainly portrayed with a white complexion and white hair. Oh, I know it's silver hair, but you know what I mean. And this two-toned one is Arya! I actually had a few choices for this one, but I chose Arya because she's probably one of the most dimensional character in the series, with her origins from nobility, yet becoming an assassin of sorts later on. And then the set, since they're travel brushes with metal handle caps, it's like being armored, like knights. So I've named each one Podrick, Brienne, and Jaime. What do you think? Would you have named them any differently? Now, let's move on to the brush tests. The bristles on the travel brushes seem to be the same as the white one, so I'll be leaving them out to simplify the comparison process. Now, most quill brushes are made with black-colored squirrel hair, and I assumed that's what this black one was. And the two-toned brush handle with white bristles, most likely goat hair, which led me to assume that this had to be a mix of the two. So I went through my brush collection to find brushes that are most similar in size. Today I will be comparing the GoldenMaple brushes with Jackson's Raven brush, which is synthetic squirrel, and this brush from Romer Small made with pure squirrel hair. The first time I had laid my hands on these after the protective gum had been washed off, and really felt the bristles, I definitely felt a difference between each of the brushes. The black one being the most soft. This one was soft but not as soft as the black, and I'd say the two-tone one was rather coarse, similar to how ProArt's Ciblesque brush feels. In any case, all of these do feel like natural hair, definitely do not feel like synthetic at all. As for my frizz test, this is done observing when the brush is dry. Synthetic brushes usually just stay in the shape they were arranged to be in, but natural hair brushes tend to be distinctively frizzy, with some strands also being rather jagged or abnormal. It might not be very clear here due to lighting, but they definitely frizz like natural hair do. Next is the puff test. For reference, when synthetic hair is placed under water, the bristles stay in place without much movement. However, when natural hair is submerged in water like this Roman small pure squirrel brush, we can see the bristles tend to splay outwards and point in various directions, essentially puffing up. This is the same for all three of the GoldenMaple brushes. They puff up. I'm also satisfied that all three brushes have a distinct belly to carry plenty of water, rather characteristic of mop brushes. When brushes are completely dry, the spring and snap test is rather inconclusive as they all tend to snap back into their original shape. So the spring and snap test is best done when wet. So I purposely bent each one backwards as much as I could, and all of them seemed to snap back into place, except for Roman Small's Pure Squirrel brush. It was the only one that held its bent shape, showing us it doesn't have much spring and snap quality, characteristic of squirrel brushes. For this size of brush, I was pleasantly surprised that they all hold so much water. The paper you see here is from Jackson's Studio Sketchbook, A4 size. You can conduct your own tests at home with your own brushes to compare. For a fair comparison, I traced this sketch 3 times and painted with each of the brushes. I must say, the experience is indistinguishable. If you blindfolded me, I wouldn't be able to tell if one performed differently than the other. That said, I loved painting with these. They hold so much water, so it's not so necessary to reload the brush often. And with their pointy tips, it was easy to pick up paint and paint in details or get into smaller nooks and crannies. Somehow, throughout the process of all this, it had just occurred to me to ask GoldenMaple what these brushes were made of. So I did. And they told me to simply refer directly to the description on the website, which says all three are made with premium sable hair. They're even all together in one listing. This information definitely explains why all three were more springy and snappy than the Pure Squirrel brush, which got me thinking, why do they feel so different from one another if they're all sable? Which then made me realize that maybe, I'm just guessing here, that maybe they bleached the bristles to be white and then also dyed them to be black? That might account for why the black one felt the most soft, whereas the other two felt more coarse. Who knows? Overall, with the results of the tests shown here today, in addition to my own personal experience, I do believe 100% that these are made with some kind of natural hair. The affordable price does make me skeptical about whether or not these are genuine sable, but then again, maybe GoldenMaple has access to affordable sable, so there we go. If I had to put it in a nutshell, I'd say these are like squirrel mop brushes that are just more springy and snappy. This video is getting rather long, so I think I'll be posting a separate video for the travel brush set in the near future. I hope I gave enough information here for you to understand how these brushes behave, and I do hope some of you quill lovers out there could add these to your collection too, because, I mean, wow, I just love how John, Danny, and Arya look together. Alright, that's all I have for you today. As always, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.